Thank you. I, CA Sanjay Kumar, Chairman, Aligarh Branch of CIRC of ICI, welcome you all. आज की ये सेमिनार संबित मिश्रा जी के माध्यम से ऑर्गेनाइज की गई है। बड़े ही हर्ष का विषय है कि आज हमारे मध्य नकुल अरोरा जी लर्नड स्पीकर के रूप में उपस्थित हैं, जो कि हमें वर्क लाइन बैलेंस और स्टेट मैनेजमेंट के बारे में विस्तृत रूप से जानकारी देंगे। बहुत बहुत स्वागत है नकुल जी आपका। कृपया अपना संबोधन शुरू करें, नकुल जी।
Thank you very much to the entire Aligarh branch.
Before starting your session, CA Nakul Arora is an experienced chartered accountant and he has delivered the many lectures in the ICI platform. He is, whenever we are talking about the CA Nakul Arora, he is basically a pioneer in that one is soft skills sessions, as well as whenever we are talking about the various skill enrichment program. He has been our resource person for that one is as a various program. And right now we are starting a course in the certificate course, and that one is he is also instrumental in this future or forthcoming certificate course. With this, with a warm applause, we welcome to CA Nakul Arora to this session. I am handing over the session to CA Nakul Arora for further proceedings. Over to CA Nakul Arora.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sambit Mishra ji, for a warm introduction. It's really very nice of everyone to have joined here, and I am really thankful that you have taken out a very busy Monday morning for this session. And I also have the immense pleasure to announce that I am thankful to the branch, to the committee, to the Aligarh branch, that today is a pioneering and a turning shift day for during this session. I'll tell you why. Because today we celebrate the festival of Janmashtami in North India. And of course, what does it mark? It marks the birth of the pioneer of all the balance. And I'm not telling it in a religious way. You can take this in whatever way possible. But we have to understand that how balance works. Before understanding work-life balance, stress management, let's first try and understand how does balance works. Many people try to define balance, be it work-life balance, be it client management, be it stress management, in a very grassroots way, like you can just choose for certain points and create a work-life balance. I today have chosen this opportunity to share my thoughts that how I feel that things are not as easily definable that they look like. People say the first thing to do in work-life balance and stress management, everybody says, define clear working hours and define personal hours. Let me just ask a question to the audience openly, and they have to answer this question to themselves. Does life work in that way? Especially when we are professionals. All the chartered accountants are actually the wealth managers of their clients. Provided you are pioneering in your field, it is impossible that you can draw lines in terms of what time do you take your work away from you. Because professionals are needed all the time. At the end of the day, let's say you draw a line at 8 o'clock. I'm saying 8 o'clock, it is a later line. Work normally ends at 6 o'clock. But let's say 8 o'clock is your drawing line, that after 8 o'clock, I don't take any work calls. I don't attend to work. But there will always be deadlines. There will always be times when you cannot ignore a client at 10:30 in the evening. Matters of arrest, scrutiny, matters of matters of survey, search, seizure. This is direct taxes. Auditing assurance, the report has to go out on the third day and you have very less hours to complete it. So you would need to be there. Now, many people think that when we say that work is demanding, we often forget to lay emphasis on the topic that the personal life is equally demanding. Let's say we have drawn a line from 10 to 6, that we will be working from 10 to 6 and no personal things will interfere. But what if somebody is sick at your home? And not sick, maybe somebody just needs some time. Maybe a friend of yours is going through some crisis. What does work-life management say? That you have to just leave that friend or your family member in distress because you have chosen that you will work from 10 to 6. I hope the first thing is clear, that it is not as easy as it looks like. And it is very easy to start a session and tell you that, okay, do this, do that. But I think it's better that I have a heart-to-heart conversation about this topic with you. Look, people say, let's start with how will you know that you have a poor work-life balance? Sir, initially you will have long working hours with less personal time. Now, many people will argue that I've already said that things cannot be defined. I'm saying if anything is being missed, and most of the times, I'm not saying all the time, but most of the times, your priority is work and work and work, and sometimes you choose personal life. This is a very clear sign of easy choice, and is the easiest choice. That always, choose to do your work, because work is at the end of the day defining you, and you've chosen it to be the pioneer of your life. But you will have to realize that the personal life is equally important. Why is personal life important? Just think about it. We are born one day, we're 0 years of age at that time. And then, of course, we live a life. We go to school, college, complete chartered accountancy. We can be 30, 50 years old when we are chartered accountants. Jokes aside, we only work for 30 to 40 years in our life, approximately. And hardcore working is required for 20 to 25 years. Average lifespan is 60, 65 years. So we don't even work for half of our life. Let's be honest. Half of our life does not go into working. Now, please don't say that some people have worked for 50 years in their life. Sir, I'm not taking the cream layer here. I'm talking about everybody. All of us. We don't work all the time first. And even in the days we work, when we go off, you will see in the terms of hours, we spend very less time at work compared to how much time we have with our family and how much we need our family and how much we need our personal life. It cannot just be family. It is also your personal wishes and your bucket lists and everything, your hobbies. The second indicator of poor work-life balance is burnout and exhaustion. If you always feel exhausted, dissatisfied, and stressed, and you're not at all able to, handle whatever is going on in your life, please remember you have a poor work-life balance. You're always exhausted. Exhausted means that you're not able to you don't want to do anything. You can or not is not the question. You don't want to do things. And yes, neglecting personal relationships. If you're neglecting your wife, your mother, your father, your kids, it can be catastrophic in terms of that even when you're working and you have some issues, you have health issues, you have poor work issues, someday your work goes down the drain, it is only your personal life that will help you with that. It's a very interesting thing if you think about it, that your work life will never be able to, put on the damages caused by your personal life. But your personal life always heals whatever is going on in you. It's not just like heals and it solves it, but yes, you can always look at your personal relationships like your friends, family, when you're not having a good day at work, when you're not having a good month at work, maybe a few years go down the drain in work, you can look at your personal relationships. But can you do that with the relationships? Yes, in some cases, it can be done. I'll tell you the examples. If you're a rock star and you write songs about your bad life, you write rap songs about your bad life and your personal life, it gives a boost to your personal life. Stress is being managed at work. But the reality is that in honest terms, in most of the people, and especially because we're dealing with professionals, that is not the case, right? Then we will talk about the decline in mental and physical health. you'll constantly feel that there is a decline in your mental and physical health. If you are feeling, Anuji, a very good morning. I'll just give you the microphone after the slide if you don't mind. If you constantly feel that you have issues like your cholesterol levels are off the chart, your cortisol levels are not meeting, your blood pressure is losing the mark, and maybe you're having blood sugar levels or whatever, it is not that just because you are giving time to your work. Sometimes neglecting your work can cause harm to your physical and mental health. I will talk about how to manage these things. But before that, we will have to talk to our very beloved, the person whose entire thoughts this professional skills enrichment committee is built around. And I think he is one of the greatest examples of work-life balance. Before he comes onto the mic and somebody
to see Dr. Anuj Goyal, Chairman
right.
Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, to this session on work-life balance and stress management. See Dr. Anuj Goyal, 6-time Central Council member from the Central Region. See Dr. Anuj Goyal is the right now the Chairman of Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, Chairman Ethical Standard Board, Convener CDS Publication Directorate, Vice Chairman Taxation Audit Quality Review Board, Vice Chairman Sustainability Reporting Standard Board. He has been there in the Regional Council as a Chairman CIRC of ICAI and holding other position in CIRC of ICAI. He was earlier involved in the Ghaziabad branch of CIRC of ICAI, in the Managing Committee of Ghaziabad branch of CIRC of ICAI. CA Dr. Anuj Goyal is always with the members of ICAI and he is always serving the members of ICAI with the great work and great dedication, and that one is all the commitment. He is always with the members of ICAI. He is serving the members of ICAI. He is with the members of ICAI. He is always with the members of ICAI only. With this warm applause, we welcome to CA Dr. Anuj Goyal to this session. I am requesting CA Dr. Anuj Goyal for his address. Over to CA Dr.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sambit Kumar Misraji, Honorable Secretary of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee. We are having very, very prominent resource person, my brother C. Nakul Arora. I am really sorry that in between Dr. Sambit Misraji started introducing me. I am really sorry. I think the way Nakul Arora is contributing for the cause of the profession, for the cause of the members, for the cause of the society, and the students, future chartered accountant, something really, really great. He is contributing in a great way in this Professional Skill Enrichment Committee for the first time in the history of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It has come into existence with a vision and mission that how we can further enrich the skills of the best of the accounting professionals of the world, the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And very, very important topic which has been taken by our honorable guest speaker, C. Nakul Arora ji, who is popularly known as Yuva Turk, work-life balance and stress management skills. And I think, friends, for the chartered accountants, it's very, very important. We are having, of course, event enabler Sanjay sir, the chairman of Aligarh branch. As far as work and life balance is concerned and stress management skills are concerned, I think very
Anuji, you have hit mute.
when we are having the presence of Nakul Arora ji, I think this very, very important topic, work-life balance and stress management skills, will be taken care by Nakul ji in the best possible manner. We are very well aware that as far as chartered accountants are concerned, we are, of course, the best accounting professionals, and ICAI is proud that they have produced the best accounting professionals, but we are having the super distance learning program. We are deprived of the classroom education or the residential system of education which is there in the IITs or IIMs. I think it is very, very important to learn that how we can have work and life balance, how we can manage our stress. And in today's life, I think the stress is too much and work is too much. How we can keep the balance between work and life, how we can manage the stress, I think that is very, very important. And when we will be managing it, I think we can contribute in the best possible manner for the society, for our country, for the trade and industry, for our family. And keeping that thing in mind, you must be very well aware that Professional Skill Enhancement Committee has taken an initiative to have daily yoga and pranayam program for the chartered accountants, daily 7 a.m. to 7:45 a.m. and on Saturday and Sunday for the members of overseas chapters. Specifically, we are having from 9 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. so that our chartered accountants can be physically as well as mentally fit. So Nakul Urology will be telling all of us how all of us can be mentally very, very fit, how we can have a wonderful balance between work and life, how we can manage the stress in the best possible manner. So without taking your further time, I once again welcome Sri Nakul Urology, and I once again welcome all our honorable members of the institute who are with us live in thousands of numbers from each and every part of the country, outside. Thank you very much. Over to Sri Nakul Urology.
Thank you very much. That was CA Dr. Anuj Goel. And I would just like to, I will complete what I was saying, that why I feel that he is a prime example of work and life balance. I happen to have the honor of not just being a professional colleague of his, but I also have personally, we've been personally connected for a long time. And I think he is the person with the maximum number of personal relations, which are, we cannot just call him for our official matters, but he has friends who call him for personal issues as well, things going in our other ways of life. And this is balancing, that when you can clearly define, he can actually balance personal and professional life between two calls. Like he takes one call, it's official, he will have his official side up. And suddenly on the second call, he gets his personal side out. Now, like I was telling you initially, it is not always practically possible to have the work and life balance defined clearly, because we are all professionals. We all have matters to handle after working hours. And because we all are professionals, and ICI happens to be one of the most I've seen it host so many events where families are involved, because we already, without having to stress on work-life balance, we've already tried to ensure that we give time to our family. If a member is not giving time to their family, otherwise, we host events where we call their families. So at least that is the time they spend with their families alongside. Now let's talk about, we have know the sign of work-life balance is poor. But before we talk about poor work-life balance, we will try and understand the stress. What is stress? What are we trying to manage? And people always conclude that we know something only because we have heard the dictionary definitions. Now, at times what happens that even dictionary definitions are very clear and we forget about them because we generally develop an understanding of a concept. I'll tell you the dictionary definition of stress. It is the physical and emotional response to demands or threats. That means, for example, you have a personal life and a professional life. When that life is demanding, for example, there is a deadline and your BP starts shooting up. You get a call from your home, your kids have, maybe they are not doing well in their classrooms, maybe they're on some, they're not doing right things, they're doing bad stuff. I'm not going to name them, but yes, that is true in today's world. Our kids tend to lose track of the right way of living and they start living in a demeaning manner. This is a threat. Our heart rate starts to decline or maybe shoot up. What is this? This is your physical response to your demands and threats. I speak very slowly because I try to cover it. I want you to understand what we are talking about. Right? So we have talked about that what will we respond is to a demand or a threat. All right? And what kinds of response are we looking for? Physical and of course, emotional. So we have talked about physical response to demand, deadline, and that is making you stressed. Or a threat to your future, and that is creating a stress. Both things can happen at work and at home. Now let's talk about emotional responses. Very, very important, but hardly somebody thinks about it that there is an emotional response. You know, what is good about crying? People who can cry, people who can, moist their eyes and start crying. Actually, they are the most lucky people, because at least they can express the emotion and people around them can understand and take care of it. But what about people who cannot cry? Okay, how many of you understand anger? I don't know, because I've taken a lot of anger management classes. I've always been keen on this topic. What is anger management? Why angry? And you'll be surprised that anger is a response of threat, is a response of fear. So maybe you see your boss, let's remember our articleship days. Let's forget about today, because when we think about today, we always think that life has always been like that. But let's close our eyes and think about the time when we all were articled assistants. We all have a conversation with our boss. We've all seen him angry or her angry, and they're at our backs and trying to, get something out of us. Sometimes it's even unreasonable. But that anger is coming from demand or the threat of missing out. So I'm not saying emotional responses is stress. No, when the emotional response is in response to a demand or a threat, that is because of stress. Now, let's say you've already lost a battle. Maybe you have a chronic illness in your family. Maybe somebody has died. Maybe some clients have gone. Maybe law has changed, that your practice is becoming obsolete. That is a threat. That's not a happened cause. If something happens in the anticipation of something, that is called emotional response to demand or threat. So we have to always keep in mind that we understand threat, and that is the only way we can manage stress. So let's understand what are the types of stress. There are two types of stress. Basically, two types of stress are: first is acute stress, a small stress, and of course, the second is chronic. Okay, what is a short term and often related to specific event stress? Let me tell you. So, for example, we had a committee, professional skills enrichment committee, which we were talking about, and I was told to write a book for it. And I was writing a book already, but I was told that I have a specific deadline to meet. So Sambhaji was on my back and he said that I want this book in the next 2 days, finalize it, do the edits, get the proofreading done and everything. So this, I started, I was very sleepless. I was feeling very tired. And of course, I was a little cranky at that time. I was not talking properly to my peers and dears and my family. Why? Because this was my physical and emotional response to the demand which was there. And on the last day, when I had to shoot the email, 3 hours ago, I was bubbling out with anger. Why? Because that was my emotional response to the threat that I would miss this deadline and this book will not launch. Because we've worked really hard on that. Now, this is called acute stress. This is a small stress related to an event. The event will pass, the stress will go over. Let's talk about chronic stress. So you understand the word chronic, whatever you're threatening, it is long term. These stress are long term and these often lead to health issues. If you talk about acute stress, very less management strategies are there to manage acute stress. And I don't even think managing acute stress is very important. If it is systematic, it is related to specific events, and you're able to let go after the event is over, after the time frame is over, there is no problem. This is the stress which is required for you to sustain. I hope you understand. Because if we will not have the stress of the deadline, how will we meet all the deadlines for our office? If we do not have the stress of the birthday party of our wife, How would we manage that? How will we keep people and how will we keep our work and personal life satisfied? So acute stress, yes, if you take it so heavily that your blood pressure starts rising and you start sweating because of acute stress, this is requiring management. But talking about normally you're not, maybe you miss a meal or two in 3 or 4 times a year, it's okay. That's acute stress and that's supposed to be there. The thing in this life is no emotional problem or no soft skill is something which a person does not already have. I'm saying no problems in this world which relate to soft skills are the ones which are not managed by us already. It is just better management. It is just quality has to improve. How? Let's talk about acute stress for a moment. It is there because it is supposed to be there. The feeling of urgency, the feeling of because it will not have the stress and any emotional or physical response to a demand or threat, will not do anything. Nothing will happen. Human race will not develop. Nobody will be managing the accounts. No deadlines are being met. What's the point? Let's talk about chronic stress. That is the problem. That is the actual culprit here. That's what we're here to manage. People who get angry, no problem. You have to do anger management, but that's not related to your stress. Your stress will be managed under anger, but that is not the stress management we're talking about. Most of the stress that is talked about for stress management is the chronic stress. Let me talk about it. People are not happy with their marriages. People are not happy with their kids, their family, their parents, their work, their profession. And some people are not, it's just not happy. What is it? This is chronic stress. In long term, it will cause you problems. For example, these days, you would see that all the chartered accountants are keen on meeting as many clients as possible. Why do we do it? Because we have some stress on it. But if every day you're not able to sleep in this thought that what is happening, that means either you're not responding to the threat properly. So chronic stress happens because of either being non-responsive to acute stress. So example, you're non-responsive to the acute stress. There was a threat, there was a demand, you did not meet, and now you are bearing the consequences. The non-compliance or non-responsiveness to the acute stress will create chronic stress. The other thing is things that you have no control over. Uncontrollable problems are the ones you're trying to solve. For example, you're trying to solve somebody's character, attitude, behavior. You're trying to control people's life. It will never work out and you will create a chronic stress for yourself. Many people say nobody cares about me. Actually, it's true. In real life, nobody cares about nobody except themselves. Your problem is that you don't care about yourself. I'm sorry to say, but that is true. People who do not care about themselves are the ones who are doing something wrong. Because everybody is supposed to. This is evolutionary. This is biology. This is science. That we care about ourselves. And even our family, my child, my wife, my father, the my is the one we are caring about. And this is natural. It's no problem. So if you're trying to say that nobody cares about me, is just you're saying that you don't care about yourself in a way. Anyways, let's move on. One of the other reasons for chronic stress is, of course, some things which are the problems which we are born with. Many people they say that depression is a side effect of cancer. People who have cancer often end up depressed, often end up in chronic stress. I don't think that we can explain them because we're not suffering with something like that. But I also believe that sometimes it is acceptance, sometimes it is efforts. So either your efforts are missing, either it is about your efforts, or either you need to accept it. It's your call. What do you think your stress falls under? You can decide and you can move on. just don't worry. It's no, I know it's easier to say don't worry, but people who say don't worry usually are very worried. So I can just tell you this is how it works. Any which ways. If you're employers, if you're managers, if you have a team, there's one more thing for you. I would like to share what is your role in the life of your employees and their work-life balance and stress. Sorry to break the bubble, but yes, employers do have a role to take care of their employees. But why? Because that is who takes care of our business. They cause us acute stress, and if we're not very good at workplace, the workplace is not doing well, I am sorry, it was going to be a chronic stress for you. Firstly, have a supportive workplace culture. Encourage the work-life balance. How? This session being organized by the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee of ICAI is a message that we support and we encourage that you have a good work-life balance. Then, of course, you have to provide resources to stress management programs. If you're an employer, today's webinar could have been an option that you could have told your employees to, access and, enjoy. You learn from this webinar. If you think it is important, then share this with your employees. Don't just share the link and ask them to, spend personal time on this, because people will not spend 2 hours on a session unless they are given specific time to do it. So you can always arrange a work anywhere in your work, and this video can be played, or you can call a speaker at your premises and provide the resources and organize a stress management program. Why do big companies have breakout areas? Why do they have a foosball table? Why do they have a pool table, TT table? This is just how stress is being responded to. Promote breaks. I remember I used to work for a British company to begin with. I did not start my working in this culture, which we now work in. My first company was a British company, and I have never ever experienced this kind of a management in my life with any other company, the way they used to manage. So there used to be a 10-minute breather, a 15-minute breather, a half an hour of lunch, a 15-minute breather, and a 10-minute breather. And by the way, the working hours were 7.5 hours, and the combined breaks were 1 hour and 10 minutes. That means it was a working shift of 8 hours and 40 minutes. They managed their time like this. They're just not promoting. Your systems were being tracked. You had a specific login time, logout time. You had to make sure that you log out on this time. And even when people used to delay these breaks, even when people used to delay their breaks or take breaks in advance, it was not looked good upon. They were always talking about, why do you not take your break on time? What we used to do is, I'll tell you where our problem used to be there. And I'm lucky that I was there for long enough to learn this. Some people used to like to merge these two. So they would like to take a 25-minute break once. So they will not take this break and they'll take this one for 25 minutes. Some people used to, have a, they want to celebrate a birthday. They want to go out for lunch. So they would take these breaks together and they'll make it a 1-hour break. The good thing that I learned there, all the people who were Western, who were Europeans there in my company, they used to take their breaks on dot times. They never showed any interest in merging their breaks. So if they wanted a 1-hour lunch break, they would take an hour off and go for whatever they want to. But they will not mess up their timeline of what was already given to them. I hope this is being a little clear that you are not just the person who has been told that this is how things will work with you. We have to allow our employees and our peers and dears to take the stress issues seriously. And nobody apart from the employers can do that. Employers include the HRs, it includes the financial heads, the team leaders, anybody. So we have to be very supportive of our team, and the tasks have to be very well illustrated and the management has to cooperate with their team. Moving on. We will talk about the personal action plan let's just talk about a personal action plan. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. I always try to keep it in the end, but I think I've thought about this. I'm sorry, I'm taking this session around after maybe a few months, so I am a little busy. I made this slide before for some reason, so I'll just talk about this first. Firstly, you need to reflect. Evaluation is important. Just see where your work-life balance is going wrong. I do not like the sessions where I'm not able to chat with my audience, where I'm not able to, have a chat box. Why? Because I cannot talk about these evaluations with you. Why don't you pull out a pen and paper, and I will imagine you doing this, that start writing down that where and what are your personal commitments and what are your work commitments. All right. For an example, maybe your personal commitment is that your kid is in college and you have to pay their fees on time. You have to take updates. You have to, you have to just explore your relations for their internships. Anything. These are your personal commitments. What are your work commitments? I'll tell you where the problem starts. Many people have only one need, only one workplace need, especially when they're in job. Please the boss, do whatever he or she says. That's not how stress will be managed. You should know your job very well. You should know what you are supposed to do and what are your commitments. Let me talk about the practicing fellows. The practicing chartered accountants need to realize that they need to clearly define that, making relationships, networking, trying and soliciting new clients is a part of their job. So this will come under work commitments, paying off the salaries, the work commitment, and then personal commitments also. You have to sit very calmly, very composedly. If we would have been in a room, I would have taken an hour with this, and we would have written down our personal and work commitments. But without writing it down, without making notes about it, you will never understand where the balance will be created. Because let me tell you, how many of you have, worked out in your life? How many of you have had gym classes, or how many of you were a part of a gym? I don't know. You're not answering, so I know that some of you would have gone to a gym a gymnasium or something. Let's reflect on that time, and the ones who not, just think about it, just imagine it. Try and be in that room. So we had to lift a bar for performing a deadlift, or maybe we are working out a chest, bench press, incline, decline, whatever you want to do. And there was a bar, an iron bar, and we used to balance it. So you can increase the weight. So if I want to increase let's say I'm taking a bench press of 90 kgs and I want to take it for 100. Can I attach a 10 kg bar at one side and it's 100 kgs? No, we have to create a balance, 5 and 5 both the sides. Then why am I saying, and how does it relate to personal and work commitments, and why do we need to write it? To create a balance. So what happened is, in my gym, we had a 5 kg bar, which was actually 4 kg. I don't know why, because maybe it may have rotten or something. To create a balance, we used to add a weight of 1 kg to the side where that a little less 5 kg plate was there. Why? Because that is the addition we had to do, because we already knew what are the actual weights of the side. So we can balance after we know what actually is going into this. Right? After we know what has gone into one thing, we can think about balancing it. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you work in stock markets? I'm thinking many. Do we understand that stock market works on a balancing theory? Yes, the balance is demand and supply. So whenever the demand is high and the supply is low, to make sure that the demand and supply is met, they create a balance by increasing the price. That graph that you made since your school is actually a reflection to demand and supply. Is a reflection to balance, how things are always balanced. Moving on, let's understand goal setting now. Now you have to be defining specific, achievable goals for balance. You've defined goals for your work. You've defined goals for your personal life. I am saying you have to start setting goals for balance. For example, I may be a person who's doing okay, I'm doing good at work, but maybe my kids are always on my back that I don't give them time. Maybe I'm like the typical Bollywood dad who is not at all, giving time to their kids, or maybe is not looking at their education, their future, how they're managing their life. I have to set a goal that after this year, I will at least know what my son has learned in the last 2 years. After this year, I would at least try to know 5 good things about his personal life. 5 things he likes, 5 things he dislikes. I will take him on his dream vacation this year. At least I have 4 family members, including myself. We will go on 4 trips in the next 2 years, 4 years, 1 year, to the locations of each and everyone's choice, one by one. And if this works or not works, you have to seek support. Friends and family seem to be the greatest source. And of course, when it comes to stress management, work-life balance, when we talk about soft skills, we often end up saying that family and friends are the best support. I'm sorry. Still, even when you're talking about stress management, try and include professionals. I don't know. I have a keen sense of respect, a keen sense of, I should say, appreciation for the professionals, not just in my industry, but for the professionals in all the walks of life. I make sure that I mention this, and I always say this, that professionals are required no matter what. If you have health problems, stop being your own doctor and go to a doctor. If you're having financial problems, stop taking care of themselves. You have chartered accountants for that. If you're having a legal issue, stop trying to manage it out, or maybe if you have a conflict, people try to fight it out, call mobsters, they'll pay somebody to, have force for them. They'll call 15 family members, and what do? They don't do? They don't call a lawyer. So I think you need to ensure that if you are feeling a little below under the weather, or maybe under rock bottom, you have to consult professionals like you consult them on physical issues. Right? Let's move on. So let us talk about some strategies for personal strategies. When you have heard about mindful meditation, what is mindful meditation and what do you understand by it? Let me try and convey something. There is a thing called a mindful meditation. So what happens is this includes a lot of other things. Have you ever thought about that? Why does meditation begin with breathing exercises? I'm sorry, my writing does not go well. I don't have a pen to write on the screen, but yeah, it's not breathing, it's breathing. Why does meditation begin with breathing? Why does it move on to try and listen to your body, try and listen to your heartbeat? Why? Actually, mindful meditation talks about your, reducing anxiety by getting into the present and not thinking ahead, not looking way into the future. Second. Right? Just give me a moment, okay? Sorry, just had to ensure that my internet is working fine. I'm sorry. I hope you guys are able to see me, but because I cannot see you, so the moment I see that there is a network problem on the screen, I will have to make sure the network is working fine. But any which ways, let's talk about the first technique, mindful meditation. How many of you have practiced any kind of meditation? Because you cannot answer, I would like to answer for you. If you are doing any kind of meditation, it is good. Why? Because meditation helps you to get into the present. And most of our problems either exist in the past, either they exist in the future. Very less problems are happening right when you are sitting at your home. Many problems happen when you are at home. All right, let's move on. So that's one way of dealing with stress. But I still believe many of you have had other things to think about. Do you understand that there's a hormone called a hormone or a chemical balance? I'm not sure if it's a hormone or it's a chemical in the body. It is called cortisol, and the levels rise and you are stressed. Their level falls and you feel relaxed. Many people choose smoking up. They choose other things to reduce their cortisol levels. But I think one of the best ways to deal with it is exercise. I'm saying regularly. This does not mean daily. If I wanted to say exercise daily, I would have written daily. I'm not saying every day you have to find time for exercise. You have to be regular to exercise. There has to be a regularity. At least 3 times a week, at least 2 times a week. Once a week, I go to exercise. What do? I do rock climbing. I do skiing. Maybe skiing is not possible. India has not got many spots to ski. But at least I go to trekking is one of the ways. I want to use the word trekking. So you can go to trekking, you can do other things, but there has to be a matter of exercise. Engaging in physical activities like walking, jogging, yoga, they all have been proven. I'm not saying they can, I'm saying they have proven effects on your stress levels. This is a great way of dealing with stress. And I'm promising you that going ahead, you're going to get more and more better ways to manage with stress. Just bear with me. Anybody who has heard this phrase, I'm sorry if it's religious. I'm not trying to talk about religious beliefs here, but there is some of my friends who used phrases like "Jaisa khao an waisa ho man." I mean, that's the kind of diet you eat is how your mood is, how your mind works. Let me talk about it. Let's talk about a healthy diet. I'm not saying eat a person. Healthy diet. Healthy diet has good effects on not just our body but our mind. Ever had an experience of eating a lot of fried food and then being a lot crankier than you were earlier? Okay, if this does not seem experienced, I'll share the scientific reasons why I say healthy diet is better. Our diet has to be balanced between proteins, carbohydrates, and fibers. Of course, the other minerals and all has to come there. But as a layman, at least I can look at my plate and make that plate look like 40, 40, and 20. At least, I'm saying this very clearly. When you are a person who has physical job, when you're into labor, when you're into hard work, which is demand, you're exercising, you're a sports person, your carbs can be higher. But a normal person, the protein has to be in the center of your meal. And that is one of the problems I've had with Indian plates. That when I see an Indian plate, we see carbohydrates in the middle. That can be your breads, your rotis, or your rice. Proteins are in the side, fibers, sometimes fibers are not even there. Some people use salads, but not everybody prefers having a salad. But when you see a plate which is international or continental, in the center there is protein and fibers. Exactly my point. Breads, mashed potatoes are at the side. Because if you are a working professional who has to sit a lot, who has to do a lot here, and not use his body or physical activity is not there at a lot, you have to choose your right diet. Again, do not try to be your own dietitian either. If you are having problems with diet, if you're having problems with what you eat, do not tell the dietitian that I want to, because if you go to a dietitian and say I want a diet, they will assume that you're trying to do something to your body weight. It's not their mistake. This is exactly how things work in our country. People go to a dietitian to manage their weight, not to manage their life. If you go to a dietitian and just say I want a balanced nutrition, I don't want any diet. I don't want to reduce or increase my weight. I just want to have the right nutrition for my body. Trust me, dietitians are educated, they are professionals, and they will help you with that. But have a planned, balanced diet. I'll tell you, real nutrition in the country was grandmoms and mothers, but today's generation, we all are working and we do tend to, lose the hang of how to manage things except our work, our profession. So how to live in that kind of a scenario? How to live in this scenario? How to live in this condition where the demand is very clear that you will have to take help of professionals, maybe almost everything you do. And yes, it is a good thing. It is a good way to organize yourself in your life by managing things with the help of professionals. All right. Let's try and understand. I'm just adding on to your thoughts, to your maybe your wisdom, that it is not advisable to always think about things in a way of general acceptance. The moment you will engage into diet, people think it's management of weight. The moment you go to the gym, managing weight, managing body type, managing looks. And that is where we lose the hang of reality. We do these things so that we can actually deliver what we are actually supposed to do. Okay. And again, I'm talking about be natural, be open, but I am also trying to understand, I'm also trying to tell you that I am going to say things which seem very, very. The quotations will come out of the gymnasium. The quotations will come out of different places. Some places you like, some places you don't like. The thing is, when I was in the gym last and I used to work out on a daily basis, they used to say about these things. So they used to say, work out like a monster, eat like an animal. Okay, you don't have to do that because you're not gymming to buff up. But they used to say something which is called sleep like a little baby. Do you know, there was a very nice way of teaching in one of the books that I read recently. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the book. The moment I remember, I will try to share that book which I read. It said that people often try to teach the babies, but the babies are the most learned people of the planet. What is the ultimate requirement? The ultimate requirement is happiness, is bliss. Babies are always happy. They cry to tell you that they're hungry, wet, or maybe sleepy, but they don't cry. They're not sad. They're always happy. They're enjoying little things. They're learning the world slow by slow. And the most important things, babies sleep, and they sleep a lot. There has to be, not sleeping a lot can also be a sign of depression and clinical issues. So it has to be an adequate sleep. What is an adequate sleep? What is adequate when I talk about sleeps? When I talk about your sleep? Well, anything between 7 to 9 hours makes sense. Why? I am giving you a big window. A 1 hour window on both the sides. 8 hours is recommended. You're sleeping 1 hour less, it's okay. But if you're sleeping for 6 hours, maybe you're not doing justice to your body. I'll tell you how you can manage these things. People say, oh, you're talking about exercise, diet, sleep. We don't have that much of time. So you have time. The problem is that the working time, we're doing our personal tasks, and the personal time, we're doing our working tasks, and at the end, we feel we don't have time for anything. Ever step into a village? Do they not work? They work hard, and that is why you have bread on your plate. If the farmers in the villages are not working, we would not have anything to eat. They work hard. Do they not have a personal life? I think they have personal relations, very successful, very well managed. They have long families, they have distant relatives in touch. They have even their neighbors visit them maybe on a daily basis, and still they sleep adequately. The problem is the distractions in today's world. We'll talk about them in a few minutes, but first, keep noting down, keep making the notes that are required. I will talk about everything. I will talk about the evils. I'll talk about the parts which makes you and us happy. I will also talk about the parts that is not very comfortable to talk about. I promise that. But what I'm looking for right now, I'm looking for your cooperation to at least accept and make notes. Yes, make notes. If somebody is thinking that they're just going to remember this session, I'm sorry, I don't think so. Because the sessions are not remembered. You listen to them, you take inspiration from them, and then you actually end up working on the issues that require working, and then finally you're able to say that I am able to manage. Because today I'm just going to tell you how to get it done. Not very soon you'll be able to do it, unless you go back, think about it, do your mind work, and then do the physical work. The next thing to do is time management. You have to manage the time. Yes, I know it is difficult. I know you have a lot of commitments. You have a lot on your plate. You have to eat it all. Let's go back a few slides. I said something which was this. Evaluate your current balance. You have to write down your personal and work. Remember this word? Remember this word here? Commitments. Not what you want to attend to. First, write down the commitments. Once your commitments are done, then you think about yourself. Why not? But first, make sure your commitments are met. So let's try and manage time. Because there is a lot to do. Think about the tasks which actually you don't have to do. You just do it for no apparent reason. Ever seen, I'm sorry to say, I'm so sorry, I'm not a genderistic, I'm not a chauvinist. I don't like to, speak out of gender, but sorry, this is how I've seen around me. Ever seen ladies saying that let's go home, we're done, we want to move out, let's go home. You go to a relative. I'm saying, for example, you go to a relative and on the couch, you're sitting, having a cup of tea. And the moment somebody says, okay, let's go home, the guest is going. And suddenly the host says, oh, no, stay for a few minutes. And they say, no, I'm very late. I'm very busy. I need to go. And they will go out and then talk a little on the gate. Then they'll move a little farther. Then they'll talk a little bit on, let's say, the inner door, the wooden door that we have in our houses most of the time. And then they'll move a little farther. They'll talk a little on the gate. Yes, they will. And then they'll move farther to their car and they'll talk 5 minutes outside the car. And then they move on. They sit in the car and talk from the window. Keep showing this sign to the oncoming cars that you wait, we're having some important conversation. Whereas in the last 1 hour or half hour, they've been saying we have to go, we're in a much of a hurry. This is called being dishonest. You're dishonest and you're unaware of your commitments. If I have a commitment, let me tell you, not just me, I'm not saying I'm not saying only men, but even women who have commitments. So example, when I see the Central Council members at various meetings, I rarely see that they are talking, standing outside the hall when they've said that they have a commitment to go somewhere. They will continuously walk, somebody will be talking to them, and their car would be ready, they'll sit into it and they're gone. This is called management of time. When they're talking in the way, when they're talking while walking, when they're talking to a person in the car and they're taking them along themselves. But if you're doing this out of any other emotion but time management, you're just wasting your time. You are not aware of your commitments. These people who are, having candid conversations a lot, the people who are always blaming that they don't have time, they're watching TV on the wrong time. They don't know how much TV to watch in a day. They binge watch. Binge watchers are actually the people who don't respect the time. So when the binge watching happens is at the night, when they have to sleep. It is a time for their beauty sleep, right? So why are they watching TV? Why are they watching a show when they are supposed to sleep? Because they are not aware of their commitments. They don't respect their own commitment to themselves. How do you expect that anybody else will ever understand and respect what they need to do? It is always going to be like them. It's always going to be like that for them. Now, let me ask you that do you want to be the person who's able to manage stress properly? Who's able to, create a delusional world for themselves? Or you want to be a person who says they don't have time all the time? And this is embarrassing. This is actually embarrassing. If you're always coming up with excuses like the time is not there, please reflect. I'm not promising, but I'm very confident that you will end up coming back to me and saying, you were right. And I have a hobby of hearing that I'm right. And it serves my ego for some reasons. But this is true. So always have a good time management. First, acknowledge your commitments. Acknowledge the commitments. And then you can think about the leisure, the pleasure, and why my time is going anywhere else. Trust me, there are a handful of people who are successful. Very less people who are successful in this world. Super successful, I mean, right? Then why everybody seems to be busy and they don't have time? Because people who are actually very busy first respect their own time. But people who pretend to be busy usually have no idea how much time they have. Sometimes they have so much time and they do not appreciate it. Right? I hope you understand. I'm sorry I don't get cues in these sessions and I keep on getting lost into my own conversations. It's not very easy as it looks like, but yeah, let's try and move on to the next part of the session, which is a social support. When I say the word social support, many people would have perceived like a help group, support group. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about connect with your friends, family, and yes, if required, go to support groups. There is always, for quitting any habits, any addictions, you have support groups. Similarly, you have support groups. If you are feeling lonely, depressed, everything is there. But at least, visit your family, at least visit your friends, at least spend time with them. That is what is going to take you away. Sorry, the entire session was making you crazy just to tell you that the boundary between work and personal life is sometimes just taking you away from one life to the other. And this is how social support works. So there will be times, most of the times, this is how it will look like, that there are some commitments of work and then there are some commitments at home. But sometimes both work and personal life will be ultimately demanding. It will demand too much from you. So what do you do in this situation when both work and personal life demand? You actually go away to social support. Ever heard that men always need friends? Ever thought about it? What is the obsession about men and their friends and the boys and their friends? It's not men. It's actually because when the quotations were being written, only men used to work a lot. But today, all the people who are professionals, who have a work life, who have a personal life, They need an escape from these two. They always and always will need an escape. But what you are not supposed to do, it is always easy to tell people what they are supposed to do. It is harder and more important. It is tough to tell you that what not to do. Okay, this is your friend. This is your family. This is your aunt. This is your, no, so this can be your uncle. This is your uncle. This is your brother. This is your sister. And this is your cousin. Okay. Now, these are your social support. Remember that. They're not your, they're an escape from your work and personal life. When I say social support, it does not have to be your personal relations. These are the escapes you have chosen. This is where you escape. What is that defines the social group? Why will I say this is a social group? A social group can easily be defined by saying that you do not have many commitments towards it, but you can always look up to it. You can always look towards it, but the commitment should be low, negligible, or occasional. If you have a commitment that, okay, I have to meet my friends every day, or maybe a week, maybe 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a month, any commitment if you have like that with your friends and your relatives, this is not social support. This is personal life. Now, this is also another commitment. So I'm saying if you have a lot of friends who are very close, who like family, who like brothers, you 5 friends, you're like Pandavas, please, in that case, make them part of your personal life. That's not your social support. Exactly, I hope you understand my point. We're talking about social support. It has to be, again, the entire session has been focused on drawing lines between work and personal life. I'm sorry, this is the first time, maybe you're hearing it for the first time. There is a line that has to be drawn between personal life and social support. One of the biggest reasons people are missing out on things is they have created so many unnecessary commitments. And one of them is making their friends at work, doing work around friends, and of course, making a personal life out of a social group, making them a part of your life, making your friends, family, relatives, social circuit. They're not a part of your life. If you make them very important and committed to them, I think this is bound to fail. It is catastrophic on a long run. I know it's hard to accept, but it is true. Moving on, let's understand other things. Hobbies and leisure activities. What are we talking about? We've talked about so many stress management activities. We've talked about so many things that are very different from what you've already heard. But let's talk about something that you have heard, but I will put a new spell over it. So I'm like the magician who puts spells over things. So let me put a good spell over hobbies and leisure activities. Okay, let me write it down. I'm trying to improve my handwriting. I hope that works. Do what you enjoy. Do what you love in your leisure and love what you do at your work and personal lives. Why am I saying do what you enjoy? Many people take up hobbies in peer pressure. Sounds familiar? I've seen people on the tennis court and they cannot play tennis after 4 or 5 years of rigorous training, of being on the court every day, in and out. But they're still on the tennis court. I've seen people in the gym who cannot perform a good deadlift even today, who cannot do a squat. And they're in the gym all the time. They're in the gym every day. I've seen people reading books and not finishing them. I know people who paint, do art, but never hang them anywhere. They don't even look at them once they're done. Craft activities, people have craft pens, they have video games. People switch on the video games, they're not able to play properly even after 5 or 6 years of playing video games. Why? They go to trips on mountains and they're puking all the way up to the mountain. What is this showing? This shows you that these are not things that are giving you leisure. These are not your hobbies. These are activities you're doing in peer pressure. And trust me, The wanderlust has been so desperate just after the coronavirus spread. Why? Because people have switched towards, in the virus spread, people switched towards internet because that was the only way to connect with the world at that time. You were all home, right? Now, what we saw is the things people want to show about themselves and they become a peer pressure. I've never seen so many travel junkies. I used to travel from the age of, let's say, when I was 14 years of age, I took my first trip to somewhere near, of course. My family was in support and my family joined me after 2 or 3 days, but I wanted to spend 2 or 3 days on my own and they supported it. I went somewhere. So I've been traveling for a long time, and the amount of tourists that I've seen in the last 4 years are way more than I've seen in my entire traveling of 10 years. So the age 15 to 25, the number of tourists, add them up, and the ones I've seen after I was 27, 28 when coronavirus hit. There are so many. They're doing things that they do not enjoy, and this in turn is not becoming a stress management activity, but what is it becoming? Another commitment for you. Another stress that you've created for yourself. Remember your parents shouting on your head that you bought such an expensive book, at least study it a little bit. You bought a toy and never played with it. Well, everything that you enroll into, everything that you start doing is a new set of commitment, is a new commitment that you do. So if you're choosing activities that you do not enjoy, I promise you are making another commitment. And are you ready for that commitment or not is your personal decision. But I can just show you the mirror and say, if you have to, if you want to miss something on more than rare, if it is more than rare that you feel to miss out on something, it is probably not your hobby. It's probably not something that gives you pleasure. People take massages and they're ticklish. What is it? They don't enjoy massages. They don't like people touching them. But why do they do it? Because it's classy, it's style. This is how it works. This is how rich people do it. Come on, give it a break. Have some fun. Do what you like. And don't think about others. All right. I know it's a tough topic, but we have to talk about it. Limit the caffeine intake and alcohol intake. Substances, whatever substances, tea, coffee, alcohol, please ensure that you are setting limits on that. Why? Two reasons. Maybe one will make too much of sense for alcohol, but not caffeine, but at least both of them will make sense for both of them. For one of them. Both of them will make sense for one of them. So when we talk about alcohol consumption actually, talks about, it limits your time that you're awake. It limits your time that you're aware of your surroundings. And also, alcohol consumption can induce a lot of stress. Because it's affecting your health. There will be responses to it, and you'll not have the right idea. Caffeine, on the other hand, has an effect on your sleep cycle. You might not sleep better because you're having a lot of caffeine, and you might also have issues like maybe you're not able to express when you're tired. What does caffeine do to your body? Let's understand, what does caffeine do to your body? Caffeine actually gives you a sense of activeness, a sense of energy when you actually do not have the energy. It works like a painkiller. It works like creating a mirage into your head. I hope that is making some sense to you because I cannot see any reactions. So I have to assume that everything is going as per I'm trying to convey. So, unlike alcohol also gives you a sense of being able to do things that you naturally do not believe you can do. But caffeine also does something very crazy to your body. So we have a cup of coffee, you feel awake, and whenever you feel low on energy, you have a cup of coffee. Right or wrong? Cup of coffee, tea, whatever you like, right? Now, Let's just go to Google. All right. I'm going to change the sharing screen because I want to actually, use Google with you guys. There's no point, there's no fun if we don't share the information that we are coming up with. Just give me 1 minute. All right. I hope you can see my new screen. So this is how a cup of coffee looks like. Exactly how it looks like. Exactly the nutrition value. You drink 100 grams of coffee, you get no calories, you get no fats, no saturated fats, no cholesterol is there, no sodium, some potassium is there, no proteins, nothing. What is giving you energy? Where is the energy in it? Energy is defined in calories. It has no calories. Now, please don't say that coffee is 0 calories and you start enjoying it from tomorrow itself. Sir, caffeine, coffee has 0 calories when you have it without milk. If you're having it with milk, the milk will bring calories, the sugar will bring calories, but I'm saying normal coffee without anything has no calories in itself, but it gives a blocker to the fatigue and the feelings you're naturally supposed to feel. Can you give how healthy do you think it is that if you feel hungry, give a pill to yourself that stops you from being hungry? Why? Why is it wrong? Because it's wrong for letting your body not tell you that you're hungry, you need nutrition. Similarly, it is unfair to tell your body not to tell you to feel tired. Tiredness is a response that you need to relax. And why I say alcohol is bad. People who sleep on alcohol think, oh, I had a good sleep. I sleep well when I'm drunk. No, sleeping is not a passive process. Please understand, I'm not a doctor, but you can consult a doctor. I've talked about this to many medical professionals. Sleeping is not an inactive process. It's an active process. The cerebral fluids go through your brains. They take out all the toxics of the day. They make sure the brain is working at important things. What are the important things? Have you heard popular athletes? Neeraj Chopra was saying in an interview recently that I need to sleep at least 1 hour in the day for recovery. What recovery? Your muscle tissues and everything, your brain, your internal issues have to be sorted while you're sleeping. Your immunity has to work. And that is an active process, not a passive process. So if you sleep on alcohol, they don't use the words you slept, they say you passed out. Your brain is not that active. So sleeping is not a process which is something which is leaving things, but the brain is doing activities while we sleep. And then I think it's doing more activities while we sleep than it does in the day. So the part of sleeping is also important. If you're inducing or reducing sleep, caffeine is reducing sleep, alcohol is reducing sleep. Anything you're messing it up, please don't do it. I'll give you one other way that you can sleep better. I hope many of you want to know. Just take some peanut butter, apply it on apple slices. Apple slices and peanut butter is a wonderful dessert. You'll have to develop a taste for it. But if you develop taste for alcohol, I think this is not a bad thing that I'm telling you. That will give you the required hormones to sleep and sleep better. Sleep in dark rooms. We all know animals sleep at night. We're social animals, but we have the feelings from the time, or the DNA has memories of the time that we used to sleep in dark. Avoid blue lights and go to sleep as soon as possible. Have a constant sleeping time and waking up time. Create your body clock. If you cannot manage, you can take shifts, but try and sleep for 7 to 9 hours every day and sleep without inducing sleep. Sleeping on alcohol means that you are not letting your brain, if the brain cannot control your legs to stand still on two, how do you imagine your brain is going to control repairing your intestines, repairing your arteries, repairing your liver, repairing your muscles at the time when you're sleeping? This is exactly why it is said that sleeping pills are also something that are making you pass out. They're not making you sleep. You have to sleep in an active sense. So your brain completely does the activities it is required to do. We are a whole new person in 7 years. I hope you know that. In 7 years, the entire body changes the entire amount of cells that were there 7 years ago. But when does this happen? When cells are being created at the time of the sleep. Any which ways, let's try and move on further. But I hope we understand the importance of limiting your caffeine and alcohol intake. Anything to induce or create sleep. Let's talk about setting up boundaries. This is the last strategy that I'm going to teach you, I promise. But it is the most important strategy that you will ever need. Learn to say no and manage your commitments to protect your time and energy. No is the biggest thing you can learn to say, but why is it important? Let's rewind the session. I'm so sorry, I'm taking you back and forth. You'll say, this guy is crazy, he's taking us back and forth. Sir, I told you that you have to evaluate your position, then set goals which are achievable. So there are commitments. I said, do not have an exercise regime which is only for reduction or management of weight if you're doing it for stress. Do it regularly. Don't have a commitment to it. Have a healthy diet, but do not do it for weight management. Have a healthy diet because you're supposed to have it. Don't make a commitment to it. Adequately sleep. Don't make a commitment to it. Manage your time. Don't make a commitment to it. Social support. Don't make a commitment to your friends and distance relatives. Hobbies and leisure. Do what you enjoy. Don't make a commitment to it. Caffeine and alcohol. Enjoy. Make a limit. Don't make a commitment to it. Why? Because boundaries are important. Look, have you ever bought or have you ever seen a classic balance? You buy groceries, you go to the grocery seller, the vegetable seller down your, let's say, grocery seller, or maybe the scrap dealer who comes at your home. They have a balance. So there's a rod on which one side they put the weight, on one side they put the material they have to weigh. Or it can be sitting down and there's a rod on which the balance is happening. There's always a value written. Maximum weight 40 kgs, maximum weight 100 kgs, maximum weight 200 kgs. What is that? What is that weight? That signifies the amount of weight the bar can withhold. So it's going to stay in balance. But if you put 500 kgs on both sides, bam, the bar is going to fall. No matter, it does not matter setting a balance if you are taking more than you can do. The bar is going to break. Yes, and this is my problem when the sessions happen about time management and stress management. People forget to tell people that they have to reduce the weights. Don't increase them. Because people say, okay, now we've learned time management and stress management from Nakul Arora. We know how to do it. I'll take more stress. I'll do this. I'll do that. People manage time so that they can do more. No. You have to do what's necessary. But people take unnecessary challenges because they know time management. No, that's not how it works. You have to set boundaries. The bar has a limit, your brain has a limit, your physical body has a limit. Out of that, say no. What to say no to? I think it would have been more relevant if I was talking to teenagers. Right or wrong? Wrong. It is relevant at every age. Every damn age of your life, it is relevant. You have to set boundaries. With whom? In childhood, our parents wanted us to set boundaries with our friends and friends only. After a certain age, the boundaries have to be given to relatives. And after that, I said there are two priorities, work and personal life. These both also, these are the two places where you also need to learn to say no. No to useless overtime, no to unpaid interventions, no to unpaid work. Say no to less remuneration. Saying no to unnecessary time spending at home. Saying no to doing it yourself all the time. So if I have to get something clean, I would not go up and clean the furnishing, the AC and everything myself. I'll call somebody, pay them, and make them clean it. Why? I am saying no, that I won't do it. I'll get it done, but I won't take a commitment for that. Why? Because I do not want to put a lot on my plate. Learn to say no. Set boundaries. So if I would have said yes to everybody, I had some commitments yesterday. It was Sunday, right? But because I've limited a certain number of commitments, I was able to sit down, prepare some content so I can deliver it today. My bar is not overweighed. Please do not outweigh the bar that has been set at your head. And as they say, save the best things for the end. I am coming about my favorite part, drawing the lines. And this is just personal, okay? No other speaker will be telling you this unless they've learned it from me, because I created this myself. I have this idea. I have learned stress management from books after I did it on my own. I repeat, I started learning stress management when I was a little older. I started doing stress management when I was very young. I come from a very lower middle class family and I was studying in a very prestigious school. Of course, I had a lot on my plate to manage, to learn. I had a lot more to learn, which other people had. Like, for a simple reason, the language that I speak, English language, was not something which was spoken in my home, or I had any other sources but school. Knowing about stuff, I come from a family of farmers, so in my home there was not a lot of educated conversations that I could get. So to learn these things, I had to go out. And you'll only understand why am I saying that it is important, that what background I come from and how much I had to do, is because you have to understand when I was pursuing chartered accountancy, many people used to say that, okay, my father's CA said that, my father's advocate helped him with his ITR. Nobody in my family filed an ITR until the time I think I was 20, 25 years, and I started filing for a few of my friends and cousins who started doing corporate jobs. So what was there on my plate? I hope you understand. There was a lot on my plate that I had to learn from the outside world. What I had to do is limit my commitments inside my home. So I had to limit the commitments. And how did I do that? This is my personal way of dealing with it. Clear boundaries, specific work hours, and stick to them. Communicate about the boundaries. I'll still like to tell you, specific work hours is not, let's say 10 to 6. This is not specific work hours, I'll tell you. When I say specific work hours, I'm trying to say that if I'm working until 9 o'clock, I'm working until 9 o'clock. The moment I go down, I'm done, my bag is packed. I'm not talking about work anymore. I will stick to that work hour. It's over. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Maybe at the time we have to work. Now, understand dedicated workspace. This problem has started arriving from work from home. There is no designated areas. If you sleep, because I made a commitment to myself. My house was very small where I used to live, and my room had a lot of furniture, because of course, furniture is something we have to buy, even if we don't have a space. So we used to live in a small 1 BHK when I was young, small 1 bedroom, a little hall. Then we had a dining table, a huge dining table, like we will live like Maharajas in a Haveli in future someday. Since I was a child, my room had a huge table, a small table, a sofa, and there was not even a space enough to walk. So you had to push the table to one side if you want to go to from this side. If you had to go to the dining table, you have to make the sofa unfunctional. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how my room looks like. If you want to come and see, I'm ready to show. I've kept that room awake and alive to always remind me that how life has changed. But in that small space, I made a commitment to myself that there was a specific chair and a spot on the dining table where I would study. And there was a specific space where I used to sleep, a small section, a bed, a mini bed kind of a thing, where I used to sleep, and I never took my books to that bed space. I never took my books to the sofa or the couch. I never took my meals to the bed or the study area. Yes, I did not used to eat even after having on a dining table. I used to avoid sitting on the table. I used to eat on the sofa and the small table and sit on the table to study. So I had to specify areas why you have to separate the experience. Today, I have a separate room where I work, a separate room where I work out, a separate place where I sleep. In my sleeping area, you will find nothing but a bed and a television. I'm sorry, there's a television because my wife loves to. If I had an opportunity, I'll scrap the television out of my room. Bedrooms should not have televisions. Bedrooms should not have your mobile phones as well. So that your brain learns as soon as it is in the room, it's time to sleep. Right? Designated task spaces, I'll talk about them in a few minutes again. Priorities. All right. Write down your tasks. All right. We in my office, we use this. I hope you can see me on somewhere on the screen. So what we do in my office is we use this, something like this. These are the sticky notes that I use. All right. So I'll take a sticky note, I'll stick it somewhere here on my table. And to prioritize places, we use these flags. Right? I'm sorry, I don't think we can show you that. These are some notes. Other things can be highlighters and everything. The reason I'm showing you stationery is because we all have stationery around us, but we don't use it. So priorities are written very clearly. And unplug after work. Disconnect with the emails, calls during personal time. Somewhere on the line, when I am with my family, I tend to avoid calls of any client except my assistant. Why? Because that is the person who would have a call of emergency and he will know if it is emergency, he'll call me, otherwise he would not. So I avoid those calls. I'm not saying I don't call back. I do call back after I get time from my family. But when I am at my workplace, when I'm talking to a client, I avoid any personal calls too. Because my family knows that they have to call my assistant if there's an emergency. Otherwise, it's not that important. Setting it to D&D, I have another advice, but that I'll talk about in a few minutes. Engage in personal hobbies. Again, what gives you joy and what gives you relaxation? Again, mindful techniques like meditation, we've already talked about it. Taking breaks, we've talked about it. Establishing routines. Having a set routine is good, best strategy, but I don't know how many of you can afford it. Being professionals, I have a very big problem in terms of having a routine because work can be overloaded at a certain time. Maybe we have to sit back for a few hours. Maybe we have to start early, start late, or maybe we have to end very early some days. So I don't know how much it is possible, but it is an advice. I don't believe everything that is written on the slide, but what I say is what I believe. I don't think establishing routines is easy for professionals, but yes, you have to try. Then set goals for personal time. I say personal and professional both. People today, I think, have a bigger problem in setting up professional goals as well. This is 5 years ago. Before the virus struck, I think it was relevant that the goals have to be there for personal life. People don't care about personal life. Now everybody has their bucket list. Everybody wants to go back to somewhere. So I think you need to set professional, personal goals that you can make most of the time in and out of work. Seek support, mental health professionals, don't hesitate. It's not that you're mad, it's not that you're crazy if you go to a health professional. It's not crazy to go to a doctor, it's not crazy to go to a psychiatrist. But when needed, and when it is needed, keep thinking. All right, let's understand the mobile role. The mobile devices are actually the biggest culprits of making the line between your work life and your personal life invisible. So let's talk about it. So these are all the mobile devices that I'm talking about: a laptop, a tablet, smaller tablet, mobile, the small mobile, I don't know what. Whatever devices can be mobilized, even your desktops are mobile. I'll tell you why. My office is on cloud. I can log into office, anywhere. That's a problem. Why? Because it's mobile, there's a mobility involved. So I can go home, have a desktop, open that desktop, and start thinking about work and doing work anywhere I want. I don't think I want that. Because that is going to make it difficult for me. The reason I learned that is because one of very senior chartered accountants was traveling with me one day, and I think he's been practicing since the 70s. And he said his phone was ringing, and he was a little frustrated. He just silenced it out and he put it in the back pocket of the car seat and said it was better when these mobiles were not there. So the only time we were talking about work was when we were at work. So if we have gone home and we don't have access to the files, we will say we can only see tomorrow. We've already locked up the office. But today people expect you to open your mobile devices and look up. It's not bad, but now the responsibility of managing is come up onto you. You, my friends, are now totally responsible for your stress and your work-life balance. You have to choose to say no to your devices. You have to choose when and when not to, be available. And the best way, there are definitely different things. People tend to have different numbers. So there is one number which is only available to friends, very close relatives, and of course, the most important people in their home or their office. One person, the secretary or the important people in the office have that number. The rest, the other number is switched on all the day, and the main number, the other number, which is personal, is only switched on at the time when you don't want to be available. So the mobile devices are the ones which are making this line between your work and professional life disappear, and I want you to manage the mobile device very well. So just think about it. I'm not saying do anything today, but go back home. Go back home means, I'm sorry, this session is not physical, but I will use the statements which I do in physical sessions. Go back out of this session to your life and then think about it, that how you can manage it. Any problems can be shot to me. You can always write me down into LinkedIn and just talk to me about it, and I can just give you the most craziest ideas that I have. I'm no expert on medical issues, but I am definitely worked a lot on these things, and I can definitely see what else can be done. Give me crazy ideas at my LinkedIn. I would appreciate them. No problems whatsoever. Then, of course, we talk about the bedroom walls. So the walls of your bedroom, that means drawing lines. Do you see this home? I know it is important in today's world that there are small apartments in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Gurgaon. There are very small apartments in Noida. We cannot have separate rooms for working and sleeping, but at least you can create a setting like this. So you can see there's a definition between the two. And this person is very smart, whosoever has chosen. His bed is not functional if you have to work. The mattress is very soft. It is very cozy. It clearly defines sleeping pattern. The workstation is very clearly defined. It's got a great working chair. There's no chance that this can mix up with this. Exactly my point. It is not about the resources that you have all the time. Sometimes it is simple enough that you just have to, you just have to make a choice, see where you feel the best, and try and make the most out of the situation that is on your hand. So let's start concluding the session. I don't think there's much more left to say, right? But there's one thing that I would like to say. Your lines have to be very clear. All right. You have to do only the things that you enjoy. Trust me. Nothing else matters. Nothing else ever will matter. But what you feel happy with is what I would always encourage you to do. That do not settle down by accepting every offer. Everything is not worth having. Every fruit is not worth eating. All right. There are forbidden fruits, and let's keep them forbidden. Keeping them like that would not hurt anybody. But then, even if you have some issues that you are dealing with, I don't think there's a problem. You can always address that issue and We always have friends, family, support, professionals, people like me. We would love to talk about anything and everything with you because that's probably what we are compassionate about. That's where we drive our energy from. And trust me, that is what we like. And we do it because we like it. Exactly my point. Reading, talking, taking sessions, that's my hobby. That gives me pleasure. And exactly how I would like you to run, go crazy about it. And this is exactly how you can manage the stress, how you can manage any problems you have in your life, and time management. So we will thank you now. And I would like to ask the management that if there are any questions that I can answer, would be wonderful if you can bring on the questions to me. I am looking for the questions now. If there is any questions that has to be asked to me, the management, Aligarh branch, or maybe, okay, the questions are coming into the chat box. Okay, understood. So I've got a question which is nobody wants stress, but it happens with work and type of work. How to get rid of that? I told you, I'm not saying that do not do your work. Stress is a good thing. It has to be there. But then remember when I talked about acute and chronic stress? Make sure your stress is not chronic. Acute stress is good. No problems with acute stress. Make sure that that stress does not turn into chronic stress. All right? So they say with the type of work we do, we are professionals. Of course, we deal with problems that nobody else there will. Chartered accountants, doctors, lawyers, architects, dealing with the problems that normal people cannot. That is why they call us pro. That professionalism has a demand of doing tasks which are difficult and very hard and very our results are not guaranteed. The worst part of our job of the and that I say about doctors, CAs, and advocates that we do not have a guarantee that results will come, but we still put in efforts, and that's very stressful. But it should be divided. When to think about it and when to talk about the other thing, you have to just make a clear distinction. Moving on, in our current fast paced world, what should we do to effectively manage well our personal and official work in life in order to lead a stress free life? The world is fast paced, you have to slow it down. The biggest pacer, the biggest pacemaker of this world is your mobile phone, is your laptop, are your electronic devices. Have a habit of shutting them down or maybe just putting them away the moment you are done with work. And if you want to have a personal life on the mobile as well, have a different number, have a different phone, have a different laptop at home on which you play video games, on which you watch your TV shows, have a different device for it. Make sure that the device distinction actually creates the distinction for you. And the next question, I'm sorry, I hope that answer has been done. Is work-life balance more difficult for men or women? In such a case, how gender difference can be tackled to attain greater peace? It's a very controversial question. Whom is it more difficult for? I think being a man, I think it's difficult for men. Yeah, it's an arbitrary answer, but it's true. Because it is true that the expectations from men are this is for the women folks in the audience. I really wish you understand that we've seen this around us, that because things have been like that for centuries, now when a woman achieves, she gets appreciation for the 50% of where a man will be accepted. The acceptable line for men is much higher than the commendable line for women. At least today, that's also a social sin. It's not a good thing. But because of that, men are always supposed to be working. They also want to go to their kids. We also want to spend time with our families. But we do not get a chance of that because, of course, the life expectations of work are much higher with men than women. But of course, it is not difficult. It's not easy for anybody. It is just the one who decides to solve a problem will solve a problem. It's nothing to do with gender, I think. What do you do when others resist or reject your ideas or actions? I cannot say it online, I will be arrested. I'm just kidding. So, what to do when others resist or reject your ideas? Okay, if it's my client, I'll convince, and if the convincing does not work, I'll resent from the assignment there in the on. Because if I am convinced of what I'm telling the person, and the other person is not, either that advice matters to me or it does not. If it matters to me, I will leave the entire project, I will leave the part where I have to be stressed. It's an acute stress. I will think about it, and I will definitely try and create a better, better outcome for that. That is, I think Sambhaji will give you a link to my negotiation skills workshop. You can definitely go out and look to it. It will explain you very well. Can we avoid stress by not taking too much work? Yes, the bar rule. Do not overweigh the bar. Exactly how you will manage stress by not taking too much work. I mean, you're ironing clothes in between a session. That is too much work on your plate, sir. That's really something commendable. How to handle stress when working with a challenging or difficult colleague or supervisor? I would say just enjoy. Just enjoy the irony of that. I know, I'll tell you something. I've seen many speakers, they lose their mind when something funny happens. They say they feel it like it's something disrespectful, but I enjoy it. I have a tendency to enjoy things which is challenging, and I just see the irony in it. And one thing that really helped me all through my career is I just think it will not matter in a few years. In a few months, in a few days, most of the things will not matter after 50 years. And once I'm gone, nothing will matter. So it's okay. People are challenging, difficult, they can be anyway. If they're creating a lot of stress in my life, if they're creating a lot of trouble, I'll leave that job. I'll leave that work, I'll go to something else. But I have a huge found respect for the peace that I have in my mind. And I do not accept to sabotage the peace of mind that I've worked so hard upon to anything for anyone. That's exactly how I think. Certain times we could not deliver the things which we commit to our clients and personal relationships. In such times should be our priority to address. Okay. There's a reason they call it a commitment. Because you have to deliver it. I'm sorry, I hope most of the audience knows why am I smiling and they have it on their screen. Well, okay. Certain times, let's say we committed that we will deliver, let's say, talk about incorporation services. We had to incorporate a company. We have to deliver the AOA and MOA at a certain date. Yes, we have to deliver it if we do it properly. And we're not able to deliver it. Obviously, try and see the gravity of the situation. Own the mistake if you have made it. And if it is something else, it's okay. Try any hard as you want to. Something or the other will be left. Something or the other will not, will not make sense. It's okay. But it does not mean that you don't prioritize. You should prioritize fulfilling your commitment. You should own up. You should apologize. But be kind to yourself. Because I think the rest of the things you're already doing. Right? You're already doing it. Like you have to apologize to your family, to your friends, to your client, to your boss, to your subordinate. But what you would forget to do is taking care of yourself and being kind to yourself. You're always harsh on yourself. So don't be harsh to yourself and try and breathe through the process and have fun. How to avoid the feeling of being guilty of pleasure? It seems to be an naughty question, okay? How to avoid the feeling of being guilty of pleasure, of being productive by being efficient, whereas other time waster and inefficient are having an eye on them. Oh, I see. Well, that's a funny thing to say. I'm not guilty of being pleasure of being productive, all right, and appreciated by the clients. There's no guilt. You're good. You're sad about it. It's irrational. Somebody does not do the job, you do the job. Stop telling me that that makes you feel guilty. You're enjoying it and you're trying to show it as guilt. I would have had fun. People hate for others to be efficient. Why do we have to lie? Why everybody has to lie that we feel guilty? Oh my God, somebody feels that we are doing too much, but we're working hard for it. No, I enjoy it. People are not able to achieve. I am able to achieve it. They talk to me, they fight with me, they say bad things about me. This is an achievement. No less than an achievement. Come on. The most important lesson, be honest, be true. Half of your mental problems are because of dishonesty, not to the world, but to yourself. You can lie to the world, that's required. Would you like to touch upon, okay, what? Hearing or health impact from wireless earphone? Ah, hearing and health impact. My God. Sensitive topic because one of the chartered accountants has a company who makes wireless earphones and everything. I would not sabotage the business of a fellow chartered accountant, but still, I would like to say there must be damages. A doctor will be a better person. I can tell you the impact on your mental health and your time management because of the wireless whatever headphones you're using. First problem with headphones is that your observation skills go to a toss. You don't observe the room, you're not in the room, you're not able to look around and understand your situations. Because the most important skill that I've always talked about is active listening and observation and passive times of listening. When somebody is not talking to you, still you have to have the awareness of the room. So that is my problem with headphones. Not that using them has health impacts because it has, and we all know it. If we don't, we can always have a radiology. We can always have the auditory doctors to take one of the sessions, and I think Anuj will be very happy to touch upon that. And we can always just shoot a lot of emails to me, to Sambitji, and to Anuj to talk about health impacts of gadgets, and we'll have a session on that. Don't worry. They're very hardworking people. Sambitji and Anuj are very nice. You can just ask them, you just ask them with love and they'll do everything. So it's okay. What if the job or activity is always demanding, overstretching what to do? Sir, if your job is always demanding more than what you can do, either you cannot do enough or you are committing too much. Problem one can be, which is most of the cases it is true, that people are very less efficient than they should be. Most of the time, this is the case. People tend to be very less aggressive and efficient. And the second thing can be that they overcome it all the time. So you have to work on one of the two. Either take less on your plate or have a big appetite. That's all I can tell you. Is it correct, personal and official at the same day? If so, which is to be given? Hard work or smart work? Is it correct, personal and official at the same day? Okay, in the same time, it is personal or official. Hard work or smart work? Depends what's required. Hard work always, people say smart work is better than hard work. Trust me, you're between chartered accountants and all of them are smart. So yes, you have to still work harder than the rest. Personal and official at the same day? Yeah, at the same time, no. Maybe one after the other? True. But don't try and mix them, right? Don't try to give time to your kids by bringing them to office. Don't try to give time to your work by taking your laptop to home. That's exactly how it works. And that's how it will always work. That's how it's been working like. Manish, do we have any more questions? I hope I have been able to answer the questions. I would like to hand it over to Sanjay ji from Aligarh branch to conclude the sessions. And I hope you've had a good time. I've had a wonderful time. Thank you.
बहुत सुंदर नकुल जी, मेरी आवाज आ रही है? हाँ 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 हाँ। मैं लगातार इतनी देर से आपकी सारी बातें सुन रहा हूं और इतने विस्तृत रूप से आपने जानकारी दी है, मैं तो समझ ही नहीं पा रहा कि किन शब्दों में आपका धन्यवाद दूं। बहुत ही अच्छा सेशन आपने आज लिया है। और क्योंकि समय अपना पूरा हो रहा है, समय समय पर हम आपकी फिर से सेवाएं लेते रहेंगे इस कार्य के लिए। और बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अनुज जी का, संबित जी का, और जो भी सदस्य यहाँ उपस्थित हैं हमारे अलीगढ़ ब्रांच से भी और भी स्थानों से, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। ओवर टू डॉक्टर संबित जी। संबित जी, आप सुन पा रहे हैं? कंक्लूड करें।
I think Sambit ji is not there, so we can just go ahead and conclude.
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक है नकुल जी, बहुत ही अच्छा लगा मुझे। लगातार मैं आपके संपर्क में हूँ और सुन रहा हूँ सारी चीजों को। और थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू वंस अगेन। जन्माष्टमी की आपको भी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं सर।
Thank you, everyone. Let's see you soon.
थैंक यू सर।